So, welcome, Gail Gibson. I'm delighted to have you on the interview today for my LinkedIn Winning Through group. And I'm sure you're going to share lots of fascinating revelations. So, if you just want to introduce yourself, Gail, and explain where you are, and then we'll take it from there.
I can do that. So, thank you, Steve, for inviting me onto the call. I'm Gail Gibson. I am known as the Can-Do Coach, and I work with women leaders both in business and corporate, and I enable them to step up and shine. So it's all about mindset and behaviour coaching. So I am based in Malaysia. Beautiful Malaysia, well, tropical thunderstorm Malaysia today. We've had a very long monsoon this year. So I'm based in Johor, which is the first state in Malaysia just across the bridge from Singapore. So pretty much living on the equator. So weather here doesn't change any time of the year. It's the same pretty much every day of the year. So, but I'm lucky to be living here. Exactly.
I'm sure you're missing Swindon terribly, aren't you?
I'm missing the spring change, actually, and seasons. That's one thing I do miss about not living in the UK.
Yeah. Okay, so first obvious question, because this interview is really about adaptability and resilience, which are obviously key attributes that people need in bucket loads in these challenging times, as you well know, Gail. So if you'd like to share with everybody what made you up sticks and head to Malaysia?
Well, that's a great question. And what got started on this was it was a life dream for my husband and I. We had been traveling through here together for the last 20 plus years, and my husband had had the opportunity as a child to live here. He lived here for 3 years when his father was serving in the Australian Air Force, and I very quickly fell in love with this country. Malaysia is a wonderful climate, wonderful food, amazing places to visit, and the people are really, really friendly. So we had been traveling here and we had always said we wanted to come and live here. So we decided to do that in 2018. So that was the life dream part. But what kind of stirred us to do it then was we were, both of us, feeling a little bit unsettled. We were loving the work that we were doing. We were loving our life in the UK, but we needed a new challenge. And we're both very adventurous people. We've taken a lot of risks in our life, and this is the second time we've moved way across the world to live. So we moved from Australia back in the middle of the 90s, and we moved to the UK. We lived in the UK for 25 years, and now we moved back to just in the Northern Hemisphere still, back to Malaysia. And we have this sense of adventure. We're very curious people, and we wanted to embrace some new opportunities. So we wanted a new beginning, and for us, it was a new chapter to open in our book of life. And I think as well, it was for both of us a chance to grow. Both personally and on a professional level. I think those are the reasons why we decided to move.
I remember all those years ago, Gail, when we first met at that delightful pub on a very hot, sunny day. See, it's funny how we remember hot, sunny days in England.
Yes, that's right.
And you even then, you shared that dream. That must have been 10 years ago or so?
2011 when we met, so quite a while now. Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. So obviously, up sticks from Wiltshire to Malaysia must have been fraught with challenges. So just share with us some of your initial challenges, obviously pre-COVID, and then we'll explore post-COVID.
Okay. So, when you come to a new country, and as I said, we'd been traveling here for many years, but when you're a tourist and a visitor, it's very, very different than living somewhere. It's became obvious quite quickly what those changes were. And I think even though we had been experiencing it for many years, there is still that cultural difference. Now, Malaysia is made up of three groups of people. So we have the traditional local Malay people, we have a Chinese community, and we have Indians. So there's a lot of a mix of cultures that live here. So when you come to a place like this, you observe and respect the local traditions, and you learn about them as well. So again, being the adventurous people that we are, and I am, learning about those new cultures and embracing those different traditional festivals. So at the moment, we're right in the middle of Ramadan, and we have Hari Raya, the Malay cultural event, coming up by the end of this month. So this is their celebration time. We live in a Chinese community now, and so we had Chinese New Year this year at 2 a.m. on our front doorstep with firecrackers going off all down the street, which was an amazing thing to be involved in. And then we have the Indian cultures of Vesak Day that we've just had, and Diwali later on in the year. So it's about embracing culture. Another challenge linked to that was language. So we were learning to speak some Malay, some Bahasa Malay. So we had learnt some of that in our travel days, but we actually took on a tutor, and she was a client of mine actually when I got here. And so we learnt some local language that we could go out and talk at the markets and liaise. But you know, funnily enough, as with all these countries, when you learn a new language, all they want to do is speak English back to you. So so that was a fun exchange. Other challenges that we were faced when we got here was making new connections. So we gave up a huge network of family, friends, and also business connections and colleagues. And so coming here, you have to embrace stepping out, making new connections for the first time. And we did that through, there's various expat opportunities here. There's groups that you can go to, there's events, drinks events and things like that. So we made connections locally, and we made a new set of friends. But again, when you live in an expat culture, people come and go. So you make connections, you get to know people well, and then just as quickly they can up sticks and go themselves back to their countries of origin or move on with contracts, etc. So we have a lovely circle of friends around us, some who are brand new, some who've been here for a while. So that was, I guess, a challenge, but a opportunity all at the same time. Setting up the business, so we set up a restaurant here. I set up my own my coaching consultancy, so that's been developing and morphing and changing while I've been here. But setting up a restaurant in a new marketplace, finding our own way, building a business in an uncertain market, because this country has been challenged financially, I guess, like a lot of countries around the world. So we're learning to market into a new market, learning new processes of setting up a business here, and some of the challenges that we faced with that, knowing which department to go to, knowing where these departments actually were, and being told one thing by one person, something by somebody else. Yeah. So we had to find and discover of getting the business going. And linked to the business as well, we went through some challenging times with our landlord, because we had a very difficult relationship with an unsupportive landlord who really didn't help us get the business started, offered no advice, no setup, no startup, no even suggestions of who to network with and who to gain some advice with. So we had to do it ourselves, and being the can-do people that we are, we just got on with it, and we opened the restaurant, and we actually were supportive of each other, and that's what got us through. I think that's one of the challenges that we overcame. But we were then faced with, about 6 months into the business, we had a fire in the restaurant. And this kind of stopped us in our tracks, because we would have thought we may have got some support from our landlord, but no, we got no support, no financial assistance, anything like that from the people that we thought would would help us out. And so we were forced to close the restaurant for about 2 weeks while it was all fixed up. It was an electrical fault, no fault of our own, to do with the building. But again, that's a very long story, and I don't want to get negative about this, because what we learnt from this experience was that closing down a business, particularly in this part of the world, if you close your doors even for a minute, people go away. And even the loyal people that may have been customers of ours, they didn't decide to come back afterwards. So we then watched our loyalty drop and drop and drop. So I'm talking our local customers, the Malaysian people, the Chinese people, the Indian people. And then what we were left with was a fantastically loyal group of expats who loved our food, loved our Western way of having the restaurant, the drinks that we served, the food, my husband's food. But that was starting to drop and drop and drop, and we very quickly realised that the business couldn't continue, and we had to close our doors. So sadly, we had to take that step back and assess everything that was going on. But we won through that challenge, you know, because my husband and I look back on that and reflect on it as a really positive experience, because we were faced with a challenge, but we saw an opportunity out of it. And that was that we had such loyalty and such support from a very small group of people. We made some really, really good friends through it. But I think what really stuck in my mind was that we became ever stronger. We became resilient through the experience, and we both grew as individuals, but we grew together as well from supporting each other. There'd been highs and lows, and we won through those as well. But I think that real strong can-do mindset that we both had was what got us through. So we stuck it out together, and we really rode through that storm. So
I mean,
I guess
a lot
that's,
of people faced with that situation, Gail, would have said, right, enough is enough. We're going to head back to England and cut our losses. So what made you decide, you know, that this is just part of the journey?
I think it's just that it was, you know, I'm somebody who has that growth mindset anyway, that, you know, it was a setback. So it was part of, because we had made this a dream and we wanted to stay here and we wanted to experience life here for whatever length of time that is. We just decided, okay, we've learned from this. We then decided to adapt what we were doing, and we have both gone on to do other things in our businesses. So I then was able to really spend my time focusing on how I could build my consultancy, and so how I could network. And my husband has also gone on to explore other opportunities for himself as well. So we were able to take the winning experience and turn it into something new. So it was about adapting to our situation, and not getting bogged down in the negative, because running a restaurant again had been another life dream of both of ours. It's where we met in the catering industry in Australia all those years ago, and we had always wanted to run something of ours. And then we look back now and we also go, you know what, we did it. We made it happen. We learnt from the experience, and now we're doing other things in our lives. So it was, as you said, it's about adaptation and adopting new ways of moving forward.
And of course, as you well know, Gail, you are a case study in my last book, Corporate Careers, How to Work for Passion, Pleasure and Profit. And when I wrote that, I don't know if you recall, you were starting to go through the sort of motions of getting things together in terms of how this would all happen.
Right.
But I remember writing in the book that knowing Gail as I do, I guarantee this will happen. And of course, well, who knows what the next chapter is going to be. But then, of course, COVID-19 comes along. I mean, that must have turned your world upside down again.
It did and it didn't. You know, I was fortunate to just at the start of COVID-19 here, so we kind of, it impacted here long before it made its way to Europe and to the US. and we were already in this COVID world right at the end of January, which was, of course, Chinese New Year, and so we were starting. There wasn't any lockdowns in place straight away, but it had impacted my life directly, because I'd just started and won a contract for a long-term executive coaching program in a neighbouring state in the region. And part of that job was that I would be with my team of executive coaches I was working with. We would be going out to work with our team once every fortnight. So we'd be face-to-face coaching them, working with them through their change process. And then, so we went out there once, came back, and then we were due to go back in country, and we went and we arrived on the Monday night. Yeah, Monday night we arrived. And on Tuesday morning, we were given directives from the Ministry of Health in that country to say, please go home to your countries tonight, because they'd had their first case of COVID that had been discovered in the country. So we did our one day of coaching in a beautiful hotel room and overlooking the sea, so it wasn't that bad. And then we promptly got back on a plane. And unfortunately, because of COVID, we haven't been able to set foot back in this country again, because everybody's borders closed. However, the positives of that experience has been that we have been able to remotely still support and coach online with our team. Now, the organisation and the country I'm working with, this was their first experience of using online conferencing technology. So they had always done face-to-face meetings. So this has been a huge learning curve for all of them. But I would have to say that the team that I'm working with, I have 15 of them that I'm supporting, and they have embraced this new technology and this new way of learning. And we are having every week we have coaching calls, we have group calls, and also individual calls. And they absolutely love it. They're on time. They've not had any glitches. They're really embracing it, and they're loving the fact that even though we can't support them in person, we're still remotely in person supporting them. So I guess that's a really positive that's come out of this experience. So I have been blessed to have continual coaching work both with clients in the UK and also here in the region. So I think what also has been an adaptation for them as well, using the digital technology of WhatsApp. So that's enabled regular accountability as well. So we have a WhatsApp group that I created with my team. So we regularly speak to each other almost on a daily basis. People put posts in there. It's a really strong support community that has been created by this. So I'm really pleased to be able to share that with you, and it's been a ray of light, I think, in amongst this COVID crisis for my work. So stepping away from sorry, Steve.
I was going to say, if you believe things happen for a reason, Gail, it was meant to be, and also because you've always been well up on technology, you were working with Zoom and digital technology years ago. So for you, it must have been just a slight adjustment. And of course, apart from staying in 5-star hotels with swimming pools, you don't have to travel. So you've actually got another benefit. And
that's right. That's right. Yes.
More time, with your husband.
Exactly. So is that always such a good thing? No, I'm only joking.
I won't tell him that. But of course, interesting what you said about the WhatsApp group, because that might have not happened, mightn't it, if you'd been just doing face-to-face stuff?
Exactly. So it's actually strengthened our links to each other, and it's strengthened that trust and that whole relationship. So even though we are a few hundred miles apart from each other, technology has really helped bridge that gap and build us and bring us stronger together. It's been really good.
And what would you say you've learnt the most from your post-COVID experience? And
I guess what I've learnt most is just to stay in touch. You know, it's really important to, if you've got links with people, make sure that you tap into them all the time. And I think that's come out of this program more than anything else. And also we launched, a colleague of mine and I, one of my fellow executive coaches and I, have launched a women leaders network during this COVID time as well, because we wanted to reach out and build community locally. And so we launched this right in the middle of the crisis, and it's really been that capture point for a lot of women leaders. And we've now opened it up to a global audience because we thought we can really tap into this. And so we're bringing together people into a tribe, our community, to be connected and to collaborate, and also just to realize that there is that value of being connected and staying connected and tapping in to check in on people as well. I think that's one of the things that's really come out for me, and it's come out through coaching, even with some of the calls I had today with a few of my team, was just that, you know, people want to know that they're supported, because we're all going through different things. We're going through different anxieties, as you and I were talking at the start of this call, and talking about how people are feeling amongst all of this. Some people are keeping up with all of the noise and other people have chosen to step away from it. But I think it's that mental health and that well-being that we really need to take from this experience and take this with us into the future, well and truly.
Yeah, I mean, this whole connectivity thing, Gail, is coming up more and more on the interview I did yesterday for the Winning Through group, which will be coming out next week. That came out really strongly. Interestingly, I've been on some peer group coaching calls from an organisation I've sort of involved with. And we had 20, 30 or so people on the call, and it's really interesting hearing everybody's take on how they're managing or not managing the current situation. But the connectivity side of it, even just a check-in, how you doing, you know, to not just to clients, but to family, friends, and so on. It's remarkable the difference that makes. And I just hope that once all the craziness dies down, that people will continue to behave. I think that's the way I want to put it, in that way. I mean, what do you think? What do you think are the key changes we're going to see post COVID as a result of all the challenges people have been through over the last few months?
I do agree with you. I think this strengthening of connection is what the world needs to continue doing. But I think it's down to humanity. You know, before this crisis, I think the world has been watching very closely that we have this growing disparity between rich and poor. And without getting too heavily involved in that, I think this has shown the world that if we just treat our neighbour with kindness and we check in on people and we actually have conversations with people, it's amazing how much more you can find out about somebody when you make the time to talk to them. So I know from personal experience, my mother-in-law is back in the UK, so she is in a vulnerable group of people at the age that she is, and so her niece and local people in the community have been making time every day just for a phone call or to check in or to do shopping for somebody, for her. But it's those small gestures of kindness that I hope we see continue well into continue to happen during this crisis. But let's not think of it just as a crisis, but we're thinking of it as a wake-up call for humanity to just go back to being grateful for that person next to you, how much you care about these people around you and how much they really do matter, and keep telling them how much they matter, how much they mean to you, and just keep this strength of humanity together. That's what I really hope does come out of this whole situation.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Gail. Well, to close then, you know, your story is a fabulous story, inspirational story of adaptability and resilience.
Mhm.
So, in closing, what would you suggest are maybe two or three key skills or attributes that you believe people will need to develop if they maybe they don't have them to develop them to in this brave new world, whatever that's going to be?
Okay, well, you must have read my mind because I wrote down three things. You must have known I was going to do that.
I didn't know. I didn't really.
This is not planned, everybody. So the first one is, and I think this is something I had to go through too, and I think it's something for sustainability, for that inner sense of self, is whatever happens in the world, you don't need to follow the herd and get caught up or addicted to the noise. There's been so much going on, and it's been very difficult for a lot of people to diffuse that noise and to step back and go, you know what, how much of it really does impact me? And I guess people can relate that to whatever comes next, is just because we will, when we do come out of it, there will still be a lot of chatter going on, there will be a lot of noise going on, but it's really a positive thing for people to step back and go, you know what, it's okay to be quiet sometimes, and I need to maintain this sense of inner calm in myself. So don't get addicted to the noise, and just think about what does impact me directly and what do I need to take from that. So the second one is, and I think I've learned this too, and I know a lot of people that I've been talking to have also taken this away from this experience. The way to help you thrive is to really to reflect and review what you've learnt, what you've become, and what you have done for yourself during this time, and what you've learnt about yourself, and think about what you're going to leave behind, and think about the good things that you're going to take forward. So touching on what we just spoke about then, about humanity taking forward this connectivity, is what are the things that you don't need to take forward with you anymore that really are not having a positive impact on your world, or anybody else's world around you? And what are the good things that you've learned about yourself, or you've learned and you've gained knowledge on, that you can take forward into your future? Those are the things that can help you thrive. And the last one that I wanted to share, and it's a word that has been touched upon by a lot of people, and it's something that I've been doing in my business and my mindset for a very long time, and it's about how can you continue to focus on becoming more agile, meaning in your body, in your mind, and in yourself. So looking after your fitness, your well-being, your mindset, all of those things combined leads to this really positive impact, which can promote you being able to have sustainable peak performance. So you can effectively manage your mindset so that you can continue to win through the highs and lows of whatever crosses your path going forward. So you can build that resilience, you can have that inner strength, but you can become more and more agile so that you can manage these things going forward.
Yeah, well, brilliant summation there, Gail. And as someone who's embraced yoga and meditation this year, I completely endorse that. And I look forward to being able to be playing tennis again soon. But there we go.
So do I.
Anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure, Gail, and good luck with everything out there. And let's keep everything crossed that things continue to improve there very quickly, and keep up the brilliant work and can do.
Thank you so much, Steve. It's been a pleasure to talk to you today.
Thank you.